This conference will now be recorded.
All right, you guys, welcome to our MS group meeting at AnCan. Anyone who's not joining us in person, the reason why we're all blinged down orange is that we're celebrating the MS Awareness Month. Actually, Jen, were you not nominated for AnCan for Women?
Hey, we're just all, it was nice. So, and MS Awareness Month is the month of March. And kind of tongue in cheek, I said something in the meeting announcement like, do we celebrate multiple sclerosis this month, or do we just have a reason to talk about how stupid the disease is, or wear obnoxious orange and just like best multiple sclerosis? So, but
Why
yeah.
don't you guys start out on the introductions then?
Okay, I'm Jennifer, and I have secondary progressive MS. I was diagnosed in 1997, and I currently am taking Rituxan.
And I'm Dan Digman, and I was diagnosed in 2000. I have relapsing remitting MS, and I'm taking Ocrevus.
I'm Kim from Iowa, relapsing remitting, diagnosed 2012. I'm currently on Ocrevus. John, you're up next. You are muted. Give you 5 minutes. Oh, you're doing the Michigan map. I got it.
Yep, the Michigan map was coming out. Hi, I'm John, and I'm from a little town called Big Rapids, Michigan, located over here. I have RMS, and I take Supposia.
Thank you. Karen, are you ready?
I'm Karen, and I was diagnosed with primary progressive MS, but I found out that they write in my chart that I have non-relapsing progressive multiple sclerosis, as if anybody knows what that means. You do, you all do. And I live in Oakland, California, not Arizona, Ronnie. I never think to say California, or California in my vernacular, but I'm in Oakland because isn't that the center of the world? Like, even though there's an Oakland County in Michigan.
How did I think that you lived in Arizona? I don't know.
Okay, let's go to Christy.
Wait.
Obnoxious New Yorkers. Oh my God.
And here's an orange fruit, you know, these are great.
Excellent. Bringing in the food now.
Hi, I'm Christy. I live in Brighton, Colorado, which is just northeast of Denver. I was diagnosed in 2003. I have RRMS, although I think it has progressed because I don't think the doctors can figure out exactly where I'm at. Let's see here. So I'm probably at secondary progressive, but I don't know because one doctor says one thing, the other doctor says another. So I don't know. I'm kind of stuck in that world, and I'm currently on Ocrevus.
Welcome. Okay, Ronnie, you are next.
I'm Ronnie. I'm from New York City, currently in Seattle. I have progressive relapsing, which is some new thing that I've been told, or maybe it's relapsing progressive. I don't, one of the two. Somewhere in between relapsing, remitting, and secondary progressive is how my doctor explained on Ocrevus, diagnosed in April of 2013.
Excellent. Amanda.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda. I live right outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. I was diagnosed with relapsing remitting in June 2019, and I am on Kesimpta.
Thank you. Holly.
Hi, I'm Holly. I have relapsing remitting. I've been diagnosed since 2000, and I am on Rituxan.
Welcome. And then Veronica, are you new to the group? Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself tonight?
I am Veronica. I was diagnosed in 2020 during this wonderful pandemic, and I'm not sure what I have because I've had a concussion for 7 years now. So this MS thing is brand new.
Welcome to the group.
Thank you.
And Louie.
I'm Louie. I'm from San Antonio, Texas. I have relapsing remitting and was diagnosed in December. I'm on Ocrevus.
And then Rick, go ahead and introduce yourself.
This is Rick Davis. I am very fortunate not to live with MS, and I feel for all of you who do. I'm the founder of AnCan, and I love to drop in on this group because you guys are wonderful, and you look good in orange.
Thanks. Thanks. And then I think I've missed Frank because he's at the bottom of my screen and then he moved to the top of my screen. So Frank, if you have not gone, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Frank Austin. I am from Plainville, Kansas. And by the way, Karen, you can talk about Oakland being in the center of everything. I am in the center of everything. Just look at a map, okay? I was diagnosed in 1997 and I am taking sunshine. That's the story of my life. And I got an interesting story for you when we get a chance about a congressional visit that I had this week.
Ooh, I am intrigued. So does anyone want to start out with any specific topic? I know Veronica, you're brand new. You're pretty new to MS. Is there any questions you'd like to ask us other people that have MS or?
God.
Yes, thank you. At what point do you tell your family? That's the hardest thing. We've struggled for the last 7 years with my head injury, so we're just getting used to that. And now to throw this new diagnosis on top of it is a bit much.
Understand.
So any advice?
Well, I think the quicker you rip off the Band-Aid, the better. Because if they start noticing changes in you, and you've known this for X amount of time, I think they'd probably be more upset or hurt that you couldn't speak with them prior about it. I mean, it's hard to explain to people who don't live with MS, but through research, hopefully they can get a good idea on what it is and how it could possibly affect you.
I actually don't really agree with that, respectfully. I think everybody like kind of has their own thing, so I would say to share it when you feel comfortable. I know that when I was first diagnosed, the thought of it made me cry. So I did not want to talk about it. I wanted to put it in a bottle and throw that bottle in the ocean. So, and what I found is when I did start telling people that I was now comforting their feelings and I couldn't deal with mine. So I didn't want to do that. I don't want to be the caretaker of others about like a disease that affects me. So I waited. I told like my immediate family and I was like, I'm okay. This is what it means. I'm working through it. And then I slowly told other people. I think how like my other MS friends have told it, or other people with like invisible or not so invisible disorders. It's like coming out. And so you have to feel comfortable, with sharing that part of you with other people. So I would say get to a good point where you feel comfortable. And for some people, it's if it helps explain why your behavior is a certain way because you can't remember things or things are harder for you, that's when it got more comfortable for me to share. But before then, I was like, I'm not telling people, it's very vulnerable. So just different perspective.
Yeah, and I was referring more towards like immediate family, people that are your family that's closest in your circle, not, go to, a family reunion and get on a megaphone, but, just let the people who are immediately around you, when you start feeling
I
things
think
are changing.
I
I think it
actually,
depends on the family member.
I called my dad on the way home from the appointment.
I think it's a
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
decision. Like I know that when I was first diagnosed, I used to like have nightmares about telling people, or if people I hadn't seen in a while saw me, and then me breaking the news to them. It seemed like I feel like I had to deal with it and get to the point where I somewhat accepted it first, and then told other people, because I feel like me saying it to people right away, I would either do the same thing, like cry, or I would be like, no, wait, that's not me, that's not me. So I think at some point you have to come to a level of sort of like getting used to it, or being comfortable with yourself that now this is going to be your way of life before you broach it with other people.
And
I
Veronica, I'm thinking, if I don't know for anyone if you have children, Dan and I don't have kids, but I think that would be a difficult conversation to have. And I know that the National MS Society has some publications to help make that easier. So I didn't know if that's kind of what you were talking about, Veronica, or like parents, siblings, but just, what kind of family, or who do you want to talk to? I think this is really good input from everyone.
Yeah, because I
I
Yes,
think
I do appreciate it.
yeah,
Go
because
ahead.
I think
Yeah,
too, just everybody's
yeah.
perspective
I
and
mean, I was going to say
where. Oh, go
Let
ahead.
Dan finish here.
Yeah, well, it's just one of
go
the
ahead,
things
Dan.
where it's like wherever you are and stuff, because when we say, if we're not ready to tell people and stuff, and this is like, but from another perspective, it's just like maybe that's what helps, to help me come to terms with it, just being able to talk to other people about it, and then because I think it's like so didn't feel quite so alone, but I think to everyone's point, it's just like it's all good advice, and that's what just like MS affects everybody differently. It's like how you tell and who you tell, and the timing of it. It's really where are you at and what are you most comfortable about.
I did things like backwards, maybe not backwards, but
Yeah.
just I shared my MS journey very vocally and publicly on Facebook. I mean, I was a bouncer at a bar, a lot of friends. People were noticing the loss of balance and all those things going on. And so, when I got the diagnosis that night, I wrote a really long blog post and I shared it on Facebook. But the first person I called was my dad. Um, I said, "Dad, I have MS," and he said, "Shit." I'm like, yeah, Dad, you nailed that right on the head. Um, and luckily, my parents and my sister, so my immediate family, are all medical professionals, and so they were a little bit easier to talk to about like the symptoms and what's going to happen, and you know. But the best person to tell is my grandma. I said, Grandma, I have a disease called multiple sclerosis, and she said, "Don't worry, you'll grow out of it," which is the most optimistic thing. Thanks, Grandma.
Hmm.
And one of the best parts about after being diagnosed, like 2 days later, a friend of mine gave me Dan and Jennifer's book, so I had that to read right away, and that was nice. Made it easier to share.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I think my
One thing,
main issue is the fact that I've we have, as a family, rearranged everything, and we've learned to deal with, and I myself have learned to deal with this new me in the TBI world, the traumatic brain injury world. And so it's very similar to symptoms that I've read about regarding MS. So the slurred speech, I had to learn how to speak when I first fell. I had to learn how to walk. I had to learn how to talk. It was, if you think trauma, I went through it. So through therapies, I learned how to do all these things again. And I do have children. My daughter is 19. She just started school at Temple. So she's away from home right now. So that was one of the main reasons why I didn't want to disrupt her journey, being a freshman college student. My 13-year-old son has autism. So that comes with a whole other group of interesting things. So yeah, we're quite medically needy. And as far as the new diagnosis, it hasn't changed anything, but I think the sensation of muscles in myself, in my body, in my movement. But everything else is kind of, I've had it since the concussion. So that's why I haven't divulged this new piece of information. So it's sick, to say the least.
My only piece of advice to you is, as you can see, the wide spectrum of us. Some of us were ready to tell at the beginning. Some of us took a while. Just know that whenever you do disclose it, you cannot take it back. So just be aware of that.
Exactly.
And I think also to add that I think it's important to prepare yourself too
I was
for
going to say,
people to say crazy things to you. Like I know, like when I was first diagnosed, and some people I told were like, "Oh well, you have a few good years before you go in a wheelchair," and like, what? So prepare yourself that people might be nervous or not know what to say and might not always say like the nicest things.
We could probably
I've
do a go
experienced
around.
that.
We could probably do a go around of all the stupid things people have said to us. Yeah. Someone said to me, "Well, right now you seem fine. Why don't you just go to Hawaii?"
We should write a book of. We're not going to say bad advice. We're just going to say misguided advice.
Actually, I think that would be a really helpful book for like anyone in chronic conditions. What helps, what's not helpful. I mean, that goes with grieving. I mean, the whole spectrum of like uncomfortable topics, the misguided guide or something. I love it.
Well, I used to be a foster parent, and I was like, I want to do a workshop for snappy answers to stupid questions. Where'd you get her from? Like a pet. Where'd you get her from? Where's her real mom? So I've gotten used to that. I'm going to try to switch to my since I'm talking anyway. I'm going to try to switch to my computer because I can only see 6 faces or 7 with Dan and Jennifer, and I want to see everybody. So I'll be on twice, and then I'll probably log out of this thing.
Well, let's hear why you do that. Let's hear what Frank has to say about meeting with Congressonal people.
Well, it was really an interesting. It was really well. It was more than interesting. It was impressive. We have a new congressman this term. Our last congressman moved up to the Senate, and it just so happens that our senior senator went to high school with me. So I know both the senators. One I went to high school with, and we've got a new congressman that I wrote a letter to and requested a meeting with. Didn't think anything about it. We got the meeting set up with one of his staff members last Friday, and I called in. We got the thing started, and as the congressman was walking into the Capitol building to vote, he dialed in, and I didn't think anything about it. I recognized who it was, and he immediately said, "Are you Frank Austin?" And I went, yes, sir, I'm Frank Austin. He said, you're from Plainville, Kansas? And I went, yeah. He said, do you know Jerry? Jerry Moran, our senior senator. I went, yeah, we went to high school together. He said, I just wanted to stop in and let you know that I saw you and I'm going to go vote now. And he was gone. It was like, well, that made an impression. You know, I think I'll remember that.
That's
To,
huge, Frank.
that was amazing. And the reason I'm not wearing orange is because I had a meeting with Senator Moran's office today, and I already took off my orange shirt.
We'll
Yeah.
give you a pass this time, Frank.
Okay, all right.
You were doing important work today and last week, so.
Yes. And Tim, you snuck in. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes,
You.
Tim
Yeah, it's
slipped
been
under the
forever,
radar
Tim.
here.
Well, that's what I do because I was wearing my stealth cloak today. But everybody, I'm Tim in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I have the wonderful privilege of celebrating 1 year as of the 19th of my diagnosis with CIS, clinically isolated syndrome. Um, and it's interesting. I think I popped on at the right time when Veronica was talking. I had we got our kids. I've got twin 7-year-olds. They're the most beautiful and smartest kids in the world. I'm not biased. I can just tell the truth. But we got them a book. Oh gosh, it was a while ago. Oh, is that me doing feedback? I hope not.
Yeah, I think it's coming from Karen.
Oh,
There we
okay.
go.
Oh, she got it.
Now
Good
we're
deal.
good. Got rid of the other one. Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm a podcaster too. I'm like, oh, feedback. I got to fix something over here. But
Sorry about that.
no worries, no worries. But we got, my kids are 7, but we got a book for them that kind of explained it on their level. And we were actually sitting at the dinner table tonight talking about it a little bit because I'm going through a lovely flare up for about the past month on my left arm. Um, but it's and I love what Karen was saying too about doing a book or a podcast. Dan and Jennifer about the interesting things that people say because we had a family game night with some friends of ours that I haven't seen in about maybe 4 or 5 months, and the guy, he was like, so how are you doing? And I'm like, I've got MS and, just, kicking it as best I can. And he's like, well, I mean, have you tried any of the special diets? Is something, that you can eat that'll make you feel better? And I was like, well, what I could do is I could probably go out back and smoke a big joint and feel better. But that's not going to help the MS. So, I like having witty or smart aleck comebacks, anyways. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. But yeah, fun times. And my work knows I was very open with my work, and from the get go. And we've been, doing the workup for MS for gosh, 5 or 6 years now. So wasn't a surprise when I was diagnosed. But it was just like, all right, turn the page. Let's, new chapter in the life, and rock it out that way. But yeah, rock and roll. It's good to see everybody here. I'm sorry I missed last time, but I'm here now, and you guys are talking about things that are happening like that, like within maybe hours of them actually happening. So I guess I'm supposed to be here tonight, and happy to listen on.
Absolutely.
Tim, something.
Tim, do you mind sharing the name of the book?
I was just trying
If
to
you happen
look
to
it
have it.
up because I've got one of the other things is I've got cog fog, so I don't know if it's because I'm turning 50 this year that my memory's going, or if it's the MS. But I'm going to be looking up the book, and I'll put it in the chat for anybody that needs it.
Thank
When's
you.
your
Thank you
birthday,
so
Tim?
much for sharing as well.
Well, my birthday, I'm December 19th. I'm a Sagittarius. I like moving around a lot, so I'm a Christmas
And
baby.
if it's any consolation, I'm a Libra, so I'll beat you to the punch in September. So I'll send you notes.
Yes, let me know how this whole 50 thing is because
Yes.
I didn't have anybody to tell me about twins and having kids at 40, so I need some help with the 50 stuff.
Well, we can't help you, the women, with the menopause issues.
I'm kind
Anybody
of
want to
going
know
through it
anything?
myself, so.
I've heard at 50 the word joint means something different.
I like that.
Here, let me
Also,
crack my neck for you. That's my joints.
Tim, when all the people are trying to ask me about diets and all that kind of stuff, I would say, I eat a giant pine cone every morning, and that seems to help. And they would just look at me like, "What? What? Really? Like, yeah, it's no crazier than what you just said."
I
Exactly.
knew
Yeah,
that
I'm
people were
stealing
going
that
to
from you,
believe
dude.
you.
I'm stealing it.
I know, I think I'm going to do that too, but I knew that people would believe you because, John, you just, you might live with Michael Caine, but still, you come across as very serious.
I'm done. I'm done. I can't get a word in edgewise. I'm done. I'm signing out.
Oh, Ronnie, we just heard you.
Okay, Rick, what did you want to talk about with the lobbying? We're circling back around to the whole lobbying thing.
Yeah, a couple of things. I was lobbying in DC last week too. Although most of the meetings were virtual, there were very, very few Hill meetings. There were also very few in-person meetings with the actual senator. Most everybody saw staff. I had 4 meetings set up, and they were all with staff. So and I frankly don't know anybody. I didn't speak to anybody who actually got to see a legislator. But there were 2 issues that, even though I was lobbying on behalf of the American Urological Association, there were 2 issues that I think I raised MS as examples. One was to incorporate a permanent extension to cover telemed visits, which I think is exceptionally important for the MS community. What they've done is kick the can down the road with the emergency measures to September, and they've got this bill going in the background that seems to have bipartisan support that would require the insurance companies to recognize telemedicine. And I will say that all 4 offices that we spoke to, they were very receptive to that. They really did get the message that telemed evens the playing field for people with physical, geographical, and social disabilities. And I think that's really important. There were a couple of other measures also that were more urology specific about care in rural areas. But the other issue that I think is also important is a bill they're trying to pass right now to fund travel and medical expenses for people of color that want to participate in clinical trials. I mean, I actually feel it's a bigger issue than just people of color, but I think it's a good place to start, largely because a lot of people of color are underinsured, and that creates even more difficulty. I pointed out to them that one of the measures we're involved in at AnCan right now is trying to raise a fund for medical costs and travel and accommodation for people of color to participate in clinical trials. We're trying to put together a team. We've got 5 or 6 people involved in that right now, 5 or 6 groups, and we're looking to put a bigger collaboration together. But the interesting part about this is that it would be the trial sponsor that actually funded the travel and accommodation costs. So it has a neutral budget impact. And I told everybody that I spoke to that this is a great time because all of the pharmaceutical companies are asking for projects for health equity. So it would be really disingenuous on their part if this bill went further and then the big pharma objected to it, because right now they're looking to promote it. So, I mean, as most of you know, I think, well, maybe you don't, but some of you may know that at the NIH right now, if you go to a trial at the NIH, they do fund your travel and accommodation and they fund your medical costs. So if you want to participate in a trial at the NIH, it doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't, no matter what the color of your skin or anything else. So, you know, we're just moving to try and get that taken care of. Also, as of this year, if you're on Medicare or Medicaid, your insurance has to pay medical costs for clinical trials, which again has not been the case in the past. They could refuse to cover you if you went into a clinical trial. The last thing I want to mention, I don't know a lot about this, but Herb Geller, who is on our board and who works at the NIH, just told me that there are two MS trials at the NIH that are recruiting right now. So I've asked him to send the information to Hannah, and so Hannah can disseminate it to you and anywhere else. And then, of course, if you did want to participate and were accepted, all of your costs would be covered for that. I cannot even tell you what the trials are about because I just found out about it. So that's really what I want to say.
So are
So
you
that's
saying
really
that, are you saying, Rick, that insurance companies don't cover telemedicine?
They
They're
may not.
temporarily been covering it, I believe, due to the pandemic, but a lot of
That's
insurance
right.
companies will put on an end date, and then sometimes they push it out or not. So now that we've been on this for 2 years now, we might
Yeah.
see certain aspects of telemedicine ending or not being covered by insurance. So yeah,
Yeah.
with
I think Medicare covers.
So they didn't cover it. They didn't. Many of them did not cover it before COVID, because we tried. You know, we had guys that wanted to do, people that wanted to do telemed, and they couldn't get a telemed appointment, and the insurers would say, no, we won't cover it. You've got to go in person. Blah 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 blah. And then with COVID, they were required to cover it, and that's what they pushed out now to September as part of the emergency measures. And what that we're trying to do is pass a bill that will require the emergency measures to be made permanent with respect to telemedicine.
And then when you say telemedicine, it just occurred to me that, you know, it used to be phone appointments, but you mean, is video covered under that as telemedicine?
Yeah, I mean, this is supposed to be whatever you can get done under telemedicine, if it involves video, should be covered too. The whole kit and caboodle, because a lot of the providers are getting more sophisticated in what they can do with telemedicine now too. But I'm not an expert on that, so I don't want to say more. But I just want to say that for us, we see it as being a huge benefit to a lot of the people that come onto AnCan. And so one of the reasons they wanted me in the lobbying, I was with the Arizona delegation, but one of the reasons they wanted me there was they wanted examples of how people are using it. And so we were able to give them examples that we're aware of people using telemedicine instead of having to go in person. Visit in person. So.
And And now with the gas going up, there's another incentive to
Yep,
say, well, we don't want to be on the road.
yep, yep,
For the
yep,
people
yep,
that
yep.
just live in rural and have to travel quite a distance just to see anybody.
Well, I mean,
Exactly.
that's a given, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there were other things with rural. I mean, one of the other measures that they were uh, lobbying for, which could also benefit MS, is debt forgiveness for docs that come out of med school and take their first job in a rural area. And so that they would have to do 6 years and they'd get a sixth of their medical debt forgiven each year. Because one of the reasons that we have such poor physician coverage in rural areas is because it just doesn't pay. And these guys have to make money so they can pay their debt back from the outset. And so this is why and the urologists are particularly interested in this because urology coverage is really poor. And I also want you to know that we did talk in one of the sessions about invisible disease, and there was a urologist that does a lot of work with MS in the group. She was really great, and she's applying for a grant, but she's in a center that's not an MS approved center. I guess there are very few MS. You guys know a lot more about this than I do, but there are very few special MS approved centers around the country, and if you're applying for research, the research has to be the MS specific place. So Ronnie had actually written to me last week about something else, and I talked to her, and she's at the Tisch Center, which is approved. So I'm going to try and tie this urologist up with Ronnie's doc so they can put together a research proposal. But if any of the rest of you are at one of these MS specific places, let me know, because I can give her a choice if you would introduce her to whoever's taking care of you. But her research is particularly related to urological issues around MS.
Wow.
And you know, interestingly, with urology, because I have shared about my little problem, I've gotten such great treatment. I have never met the urologist. I don't need to. You know, it's just so the thing about telemedicine, there's no need for someone to see you when it's talking about what's going on with your insides, and I've never felt more cared for out of all the physicians that I've had. That she's really great, and I've never met her. So
Yeah. I forget where this lady was. I think she was in the Detroit area, but I'm not sure. But she was really great. I'll look and see, and I'll put it in the chat window if I
Thank
can
you.
find out. But she was really, really impressive. I was on a panel with her, and I thought she was just delightful. Really, really nice lady.
What was it, Amanda, that you brought up in chat that would be a good discussion?
I think it goes with like the conversation that we've been saying about like advocacy and just talking about like speaking with representatives. So I think just as a patient with MS, that's kind of the most that I hear about it is like going to like Congress or trying to get bills passed to like protect our rights as patients. But being a pharmacist and working with students, I think like the thing that they don't realize that they don't really learn unfortunately in school is like really the patient perspective. Like it's like a lot focused on clinical guidelines and not really like bedside
exactly.
manner or really how it is to like live with a disorder. So I was just trying to kind of ask the group, like, have you ever been able to have conversations with your healthcare providers, whether it's a nurse or a physician? I think we've all talked about like poor experiences that we've had, but I know personally for me, I had a really bad experience at an infusion center where one of the IV nurses um, was just really careless with their words, and I, being the person that I am, I like corrected it real time and said like, you can't tell patients that. So I was just kind of wondering um how like that is for other people, since I know that us seeking care from healthcare professionals, like that relationship is so important, but just knowing that like they don't really learn that in school, like to the extent that we experience it, if that makes sense.
You said something that really, Amanda, kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but it just clung in my head when you said that you spend more time like consoling your family when you tell them you have MS. Or that was kind of the way I interpreted it. And sometimes your health professionals, it's astounding that you'll go to a doctor and it's almost like, and you have to say, no, 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 you're not doing that right. Like, yes, you may have the book skills, but you obviously haven't. I know that when Dan and I used to go for my infusions way back in the day, the nurses would just try and transfer me all by themselves. And Dan's like, okay, no, no. And they don't even ask. And I think certainly now it's better. But sometimes people just come in like bulldozers. Like, I know what I'm doing. And you're like, no, my butt's going to be on the ground. And so I think that sometimes it feels like we have to educate people. And I think that's kind of the advocacy that you're talking about, Amanda.
And that's good for you. I mean, just that you don't just let it slide and stuff. It's like, and that is, we had just talked. We were on a panel yesterday, the MS Foundation, talking about advocacy, and it's like, because, and we brought up that point specifically. I mean, because we can talk, going to your elected officials. I mean, that's what we did with PPC, and that's we were talking to our senators and everything yesterday and or tomorrow. But it's like the advocacy isn't just legislative issues. It can be just as simple as that. It's just like how you talk to your doctors, how you educate the doctors. Jennifer had told the story about, where we had at church, there was a ramp that we need to get into, but the curb cut was all the way down the other end of the church, so she'd have to drive down and get up on the sidewalk. But it's just her talking to the pastor, and so it's like, if we put a curb cut right here, it would be a direct shot to the ramp. And a week later, there was a curb cut. And sometimes it is just that educating people, because a lot of times people don't realize it's maybe sometimes they're ignorant, but sometimes they just don't know, and so it is just that educating. But I think, like, from a medical perspective, they should know better, but you say, are they teaching them that in class?
Yeah, and that's kind of been my experience too. And I know not everyone's as vocal as I am. And I know that like it's taken me a while to like kind of speak up. But like when you're on certain medications, you're at the infusion center every 4 weeks. And it's just like really annoying, you know? And for me, in that certain circumstance, like an IV nurse that I had met for the first time told me that I would need to get a port because like my vein access was so bad. And I was like, inappropriate. Like I do not know you as a healthcare provider. Like that information should be coming from healthcare provider that I trust. And so like I ripped her a new one right there. And I was just like it's just inappropriate. Like you cannot just say these things that like impact people's lives. And I think that that's the thing that at least in my experience, I don't know if everybody else is like this, but like those words that stick with you, even how I got diagnosed, like my neurologist was not nice. He said like, so it's MS. And I was like, oh, okay. Like like that just changed my life. But like, good for you for like, taking your lunch break, like it's just so annoying. And I do think like as a practitioner, like being on the other side of it, like we really don't think about it until you become the patient. So that's kind of the thing. I don't know. I feel like I'm talking in circles, but I wanted to bring that point up. And I know that it is really hard as a patient to advocate for yourself in those places, because that was my fear at the infusion center. I didn't want to be like the problem patient. So now every time it's like, well, Amanda's here today. Like, well, it's going to be a problem. So,
Or we're going to do it for you. Sometimes they're like, oh, well, Karen's here, so
yeah.
we'll do it. And it's like, no, this is not about Karen. Like it's about
Yeah.
how you should do things.
And I imagine pretty much all of us have the veins that are for poop, and it takes a lot to get an IV started, and you just wonder, is the nurse being lazy? Because I've had a nurse tell me that I should get a port as well. So that's like a whole bunch of unnecessary medical.
And it's not part of the purview of a nurse. You don't make those assessments. You're not going to be putting the port in. It's so inappropriate. As a nurse, I can tell you, so inappropriate.
I want to just mention something on that, if I may. I was on a panel in front of the plenary, and there were two patient advocate sessions. So one of them was with this lady urologist that I mentioned. I put her link, by the way, in the chat, and she's in Royal Oak, and she's lovely. If you look at her picture, you'll see how lovely you can just tell from her smile from how great she is.
Thank you for the
Thanks,
chat, John.
So yeah, she's just super. Anyway.
Well, thank you for that information.
Yeah, the point that I wanted they wanted us to bring across is that the docs can do a much better job working with the patient advocate organizations and the patients. And they should use the patient advocate organizations to reach the patients. And they should find out how they can hear the patient's voice. And I told a story which I'll repeat to you guys just because I think it's a really good example. We had a doc on doing a seminar recently. She happens to be a breast cancer doc. And she has BRCA, and she's had a mastectomy and an oophorectomy. She already has 3 kids. And then she found out she had BRCA, and she runs a very, very prestigious lab at UCSF, along with the guy that actually discovered BRCA. And she came up with this invention, which is a little silicone capsule, and you can put medicine into this silicone capsule, and you can place the capsule in an area in the body, and it will seep out. So you can use a medicine that instead of applying to the whole of the body, like being a systemic medicine, it can be applied in a local place. And in diseases like prostate cancer and other cancers, this can be huge because you don't suffer the side effects as widely. And she developed it for breast cancer, but then she realized that most of the time it's so easy to operate on breast cancer that you don't need it. And one of her colleagues, who we know very well, said, well, why don't you use this for prostate cancer? It could be great. And so she's now got 2 trials going with prostate cancer, but she's a breast cancer oncologist, and she doesn't speak to any prostate cancer guys. So she said to me, she's done a couple of webinars for us. And she said to me, she said, do you think I could meet with your guys so I can get some one-on-one feedback from them? So I said, sure. So she did a very interesting seminar a couple of weeks ago. It's linked on the front page of our website now. And after she was done with the seminar, we had like 80 guys on there, and they were talking to her. She was talking to them. She was asking them about how do they feel about this medicine and what do they want out of this and that. But it was great, I mean, it's just a really good example of how we can facilitate, and what Amanda says needs to be heard by by the doctors and the medical community. I mean, they've got to talk to patients differently. And how are they going to hear that? Well, hopefully through advocacy organizations like ourselves, who, when we have the opportunity, I mean, if the opportunity comes up, I might say, yeah, I've got somebody I know who would like to talk to you about this, and put them in touch with Amanda. Because that's seriously, that's what we're here for, to bridge that gap between big pharma and the patients, or the medical community and the patients. We can do that. We as the advocate organization in the middle, we have the opportunity to perform that function.
Amanda, just kind of speaking on what you said, you're kind of afraid to do, like piss off the nursing staff or whatever for infusions. There's nothing freer than correcting a medical professional. Once you do it once, you get more comfortable with it. You know, like, hey, I know from my personal experience that my right arm is not good for IVs. My left arm, here, if I had enough water over here. But it is like really just like, oh, okay. And for one of my kidney surgeries, the doctor didn't sign the side that it was on. And so when I got into OR, I was like, I'm in here and I'm not signed. Like, I'm in here illegally. I don't know what's going on. And then, of course, he came over and signed me from hip to armpit in permanent marker. But yeah, be kind of a jerk sometimes. It's freeing, and it's opens up. It makes it easier to advocate for yourself, because once you do it once and see it change, you're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna try to do that a couple more times.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. And that's the point I got to too. I think for me it was hard because I worked there. So I
Oh,
was just like, like I don't want to be like the B word like in pharmacy that like comes here and like messes with the nursing. So that was hard, like trying to maintain those professional relationships. But like for me psychologically, I would like take my badge off and I'd be like, and now I'm a patient. So like treat me like a patient. But it's just, I don't know, it's that power dynamic that I don't think, I guess just me reflecting that I don't think healthcare professionals really view it as that, of like what I agree with you, once you do it once like you get into it, but like doing it once, that's hard. Like I used to get stuck, I got stuck up to 5 times to get a line in me one time, and that would be every 4 weeks. And finally, I was like, there's got to be a different way. And I was able to talk to the clinic manager because I worked there. And she was just like, oh, like, well, we can like use ultrasound to do it. And I'm like, why is no one preemptively like saying this? I get stuck 3 times at least every time I come here. It's got to be on my chart somewhere. And they're like, oh, well, we don't log that. I'm like, well, you should, because every
Yes.
time it sucks. And I don't know, it's just so, I agree with you, John, like voicing it, but sometimes I just feel like it is really hard. But again, working on the other side, like they don't improve unless they have a complaint. And so like sometimes you got to be that
Yeah.
person at McDonald's that's like, I want to like file a formal complaint, because like
yeah.
when people hear that, they have to do something about it. And now it's on the record. And then all of a sudden, all the managers come and they're like, "Oh, Amanda, did you need something?" I was like, "Yes, actually, I did." So,
I
Right,
you don't want to take it from those
right on,
officers.
Amanda.
actually I
Amanda,
have
are
a,
you at UV? Are you at UVA, Amanda? Are you working at? Do you work at UVA?
I will not disclose that, but I do not work there anymore. I will say that.
Oh, well, the only reason I was going to say so was because one of the other guys on our panel is at UVA, was at UVA, is at UVA, and he was on this patient panel and seemed very, very committed to hearing the patient voice. He was a doc. So I was going to connect you to him, but I won't do it if you're not there. But I mean, I thought he was really, I liked what he said. The other thing that I mean, I know for a fact that the chief urologist, the head of urology at UVA, is very, very committed to the patient voice, because I know her from UCSF. She's just lovely. I've known her for years and years, and she's really great. So I think some of it is for, if you're in a system, I mean, and you can get to the right people and they've got the right ear. So like at UVA, if you speak to the chief urologist, I mean, the urologists have a significant practice in MS. I mean, that's one of, that's an important aspect of MS care. And it's important that they hear from the patients what the patient wants when they see a urologist. And somebody who's the chief urologist, if they're hearing that you're not getting good care when they put in a line, they're going to talk to whoever it is in that area and say, yeah, I talked to one of my MS patients. They're not too happy. But you can only do that to docs that you feel comfortable with, or we can assure you could feel comfortable with, because Kirsten Green is like that. I mean, she's just great. And I could set up a meeting with you and Kirsten Green, and then that way you get your voice to be heard. I mean, it's not great. You've got to know people, but we know people. So let's use the people we know.
And speaking of knowing people, Amina, we have not heard from you tonight. Finally, I can see your beautiful face. So do you want to go ahead and say hello to the group? Okay, but you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah, I'm listening to everybody commenting, and I really can resonate. I think it was Amanda that said, the way that she was given her diagnosis, like literally, my neurologist was like, well, I don't know what else it could be, so it must be MS. Like literally. So her saying that, I was like, oh yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And it makes me think that they need to add something else in medical school, something like sociology, like empathy. I'm not really sure exactly what, but it seems as though sometimes doctors need that. They need to realize their delivery really is meaningful, and it can stick with a person. And yeah, so
And refresh our memory. When were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in 2010.
Okay. And are you on medication?
Not yet. I actually just had an MRI, and she said that depending on the results of that, we're going to decipher what type of medication I'm going to start. Because I did prednisone when I was first diagnosed, and that was like a nightmare. And I haven't done anything since then. So, it seems as though what I would like to do is do the infusions, but I think I already talked about this with you guys a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. So that's where I am right now. I don't even know what type of MS I have. I don't even know that yet. When I was first diagnosed, he didn't tell me.
Where are
So
you? I forgot. Amina, where are you located?
I'm in Florida. I'm in Hudson, Florida, about an hour from Tampa.
But you're a New Yorker, right?
I'm a
Originally?
native New Yorker. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I've said it before. I'm happy that I have somewhere that there's people that can relate to me, and I can relate with them. I appreciate that.
Isn't it great?
It is.
Amina, when is your MRI scheduled for?
Say it again.
When's your MRI scheduled? You said
No, I already had the MRI.
Okay, so you're waiting to get back to the doctor. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I got it now.
Oh, this is the worst time.
I know. I feel like in my head, I'm like, I bet my brain looks like the Northern Lights because my body's declining. can, and this is somewhere that I can say it and just be blunt about it. My body's declining. My right leg is dying. I can barely use it. I have neuropathy every day, all day long. I have like it's all of a sudden, and you know what I think really, I don't know if I'm right. I may be wrong for saying this, but both my parents passed away in the same week, like 2 years ago during the pandemic. And I can remember from that day, I felt my body when I got the news. I felt my body beginning the decline, and I don't know if that's a real thing. But this is where I am now. And I don't have anybody else to talk about it with because my friends that know are going to feel bad for me and be, pity me. And, and I don't want that. I just want people that I can talk to and relate with. Yeah. So, and it's the truth. And I never wanted to take medication. I was afraid. Copaxone had so many side effects, and I just I didn't want to. And my body really wasn't that bad yet. I was still dancing and jogging, and this one really bad news has kind of been the start of my real significant decline. And I don't know if it's like what they call psychosomatic or whatever the hell it is, but this is real. I really know that I have MS. There's no question. There's no room to be like, oh man, maybe it's just a little nausea, a little bit of vertigo, no big deal. No, it's what it is.
Wow.
And you want to treat it or do as much as you can
And
to try.
stress and isolation. And isolation is it's kind of tricky even what does that mean? Because I just went to my favorite place today and the weather was good and I was able to go in the water. And there's a guy, when I come, I've seen him in a wheelchair. This guy in a wheelchair, but it's like, I gotta go. They gotta close the pool. I gotta go in. So I was done today and there he was. And we talked for like a long time. And it's in a park, so it's really nice. And he's in a wheelchair and he's like 30 years ago became quadriplegic. But I, it felt so good. I came home and I was like, oh, I gotta go to the meeting, and it just felt so good to talk to somebody who gets, it's not even MS, but just like, oh, I think I need a lift and I don't even know what it's called. I need a lift to get into my house and
Like a
just
ramp,
talking about yeah, just what did you say?
a ramp.
No,
Like,
so it shouldn't be a ramp because last time I did tell you I did reach out and then I needed to get a letter and I called the nurse. There's like so many topics that people talked about today, but I have been tired and then it just energized me to talk to somebody and I took out my walker because I already put my stuff in the car and it's a little hilly. I was like, well, I sat in my walker and he sat in his chair and just to have that that unfortunately, if you're going downhill, it's probably, I mean, they're going to continue something like that, but it does change, day to day. It just changes how you feel and what's going on and the emotional. And I wanted to, there's so many things people talked about today, but Amanda, when you talked about that, I called the nurse. I just feel so fortunate that I'm not in a center, but there's a nurse who's so well trained who is attached to my doctor and I needed to get a letter saying I did apply. Thank you, Christy, about that. I did get in touch with the MS Society, and everything is. I was so stressed out. Everything is like one step forward, three steps back, or the other way around. And I finally okay, I got this guy came out, he gave me some ideas, and I didn't hear from him. And then I called the MS Society and this person whose number, and they said, well, I'll be out of the office till March 28th. I'm like, I'm in the mood to deal with stuff. It's constant. So I actually got somebody else, and the nurse there's so much emotional that goes with this. There's so much emotional that goes with this. And the nurse, she knows me already, so I can just like blabber on about stuff. And then I said, and then I haven't heard from this guy. And then the MS Society said I need to get a letter with my diagnosis, and then to say that I need a lift. She goes, what kind of lift? I go, she goes, you mean a stair lift? I go, no, I don't know what it's called because I didn't hear from the guy. Like I know in my mind what it is, and he didn't give me a referral. And it just, and I said, this cognitive thing is so real because there's nothing I'm not confused. There's nothing that would, speak to that I don't understand. But then just to, what, I got to call this and I got to do this and I got to do that. And there's just everything. It's executive function, that is really impaired, that getting things done and getting them done and how you can get a setback. But she was great. And then she said, and I said, then I didn't hear from the guy. And she goes, well, do you have his number? You want me to call? And she called, and social workers and nurses, they will do things like that. Your doctor was it, but social workers and nurses will do that. And it's like, do you want me to call? It's like, that is such a relief off my plate. And then he sent me an email last night and said, so before I, okay, I'm getting back to you. And before I, call the nurse, like, what exactly did you want me to tell her? But he had already given me that referral. So I was like, oh yeah, the lift. I see, I forgot already what it is. And it's an like an elevator lift, not a chair lift, whatever. But just having that, when I had a social worker, she moved to another city, but I would just have all these frustrations that you're talking about, people being inappropriate and people doing that. And she said, Karen, you don't have to, you let it rip. In fact, I think I was going to talk to the MS doctor, and I was afraid because I had a problem with her before, but we worked that out. And she said, when's your appointment? You want me to call you, the next day? And she's like, just let it rip. Let it rip. Like just, and she said, they're just not used to, the doctors, everyone, the staff, they're not used to people advocating for themselves. So it really just throws them. She said they're just not used to it. But you still have to do it. And one other thing, I know I'm going on. I used to investigate complaints, quality of care complaints for a health plan, for the county health plan. And it's tracked, the issues are tracked. The issues are, that it does help to, I'm like to write, I thought I should start a business called the Angry Letter because I'm really good at that. But but they do have to track, did we get this complaint? What was it? And if you articulate, it might not seem, it might not seem like nothing changed, but it matters. It matters to say, I had surgery for something I didn't have. They said I had cancer. It was such an awful experience, as I'm a nurse, and I was just treated so badly that I just wrote it all out. And nobody got back to me other than, we take your concerns seriously. But there's no way you could read what I wrote and just go, oh, that B from the pharmacy.
Yeah. It probably just feels good to get it off your chest and to get it out there. Yeah.
And then just to know. And when I met with a life care planner, and they're nurses, and she said, Karen, I hear these things that have happened to you from so many people, and you know how to advocate for yourself. And I said, if I'm a poster child for someone who's getting good results, that's really sad. It's really sad, but they're just really not used to it, and you have to.
Absolutely.
I had an MRI, and I do brain, cervical, and then spine separate because I get too jittery. So I start like trying to sing along with the machine. I can't help it. So I was lucky enough to have appointments 2 weeks apart, and I was able to advocate for myself by showing the nurse for the spine what her coworker had done just 2 weeks prior. I think that they were going from like the top down, like an oil well. I'm like, that's not how you do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a way to advocate for yourself. Like just say, hey, I got these bruises last time. Look at how crap this is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, on another note, I got Botox today. Not on in the places that it's like it should be, but in my leg for the spasticity. So we'll see how that goes.
And you
And
just did it today?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So she said the doctor who did it, she said it'd take about 36 hours before I might be feeling that it's kicking in to help with my
Wow.
spasticity. Yeah. So
Whereabouts in your leg, like your calf or your thigh? Or did they just shoot a couple places?
no, my calf, I think there are like 4 places in my calf, and then she did in the back of my thigh, like by the hamstring area. 2 or 3. So I don't know. I was, I wasn't very happy with that doctor, so I think I'm gonna find a different one. So it's
Yeah. You have to let us know if it gives you some relief.
yeah, I hope so.
I hope
I mean,
so for you.
that's what I'm hoping for.
How's
Fingers
how's your
crossed.
Botox working out, Jen?
It's
Are you back?
It's working well, and just so everyone knows, because some of you may not, I had Botox in my bladder, and I did it the day after Thanksgiving. I'm having really good results with it. Knock wood. So
That's
this
good.
is 4 Yeah, so it's good. And I will potentially do it again in May. So if you're having any sort of problems and your medicine, you're burning through it, and you're like, what the heck am I going to do next? I recommend Botox.
It
So.
just sucks that it can't be done in the parts that you want it to be done. Like,
No, I know my wrinkles are like right there, Christy. I'm feeling your pain. Yeah. So,
if I was okay with this doctor, I would have been like, is there any left that you can just stick in my forehead real quick?
do a little something.
Yeah.
So,
You're
how are
just
you
gonna
doing
throw it
tonight,
away.
Louie?
Wait, what?
I was just asking Louie how he's doing tonight. We haven't really heard much from him.
Oh, I'm good. I'm doing good. Yeah.
Doing
Um,
good. You feel like you're navigating this crazy MS world pretty good?
now, yeah, now, yeah. Um, I just listen to everyone and everything.
Yeah.
YouTube. Uh, there was some YouTuber that someone recommended last one, and he's super helpful. Um, I started kind of making myself be active, and that's helped me a lot. Um, yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Was it a doctor that someone recommended on YouTube?
That was
What do
Dr.
you?
Boster last time. Was it Louie that we talked about?
Yeah, hmm yeah. Aaron Boss, I think.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad that's
Yeah,
helping you.
yeah, yeah. For Veronica, I would definitely recommend uh, him too. He's a good introduction to this. Um, for everyone who's new into this world.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Would you mind typing the name in the chat so I could write it down?
yeah, yeah. Please.
Thank you.
Let me make sure I type it correct. Okay. There you go. Cool.
Thank you, Louie.
Yeah, he's got just tons of YouTube videos. Are just awesome.
And then we got a magazine today. It's on the dining room table. that's all about MS symptoms. It's the Momentum magazine that comes from the National MS Society. Dan's going to get it because I'm in a wheelchair. I could drive there, but it's easier for him to just walk.
like visual aids. This is here. Here's like that slow scroll. Oh, but anyway, this came today. I haven't opened it yet, but there's
No,
always good articles, and it's online eventually. So
and it covers symptoms from A to Z. So that's my visual aids, and it's the end of Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month, so we're rocking the orange. Kim, you look particularly festive. Kudos.
Trying to be the freshman self as much as possible right now. So
It
Well,
looks good.
you think with me being a Denver Bronco fan that I'd have a lot more orange. Sadly, this is the only orange I have. Everything else is gray, but it has their like emblem and blue and white and orange on it, and nothing like solid orange.
It looks lovely, Chris.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks for playing.
Anytime.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I have a question. It's kind of a morbid question, but I just is it okay? I've already asked my doctor this, and she says probably not. But do you know anybody, or is it a thing where people can get elective amputations?
I have asked for one almost every time when I went to go see my podiatrist, and he's refused. He said, he goes, no, we're not going to do an amputation. I was like, but I know this right leg is horrible. I was like, just get rid of it. And he goes, no, because he goes, and how he explained it to me, he's like, if I were to do that, the thing is that, you know how you get the phantom feelings when people lose limbs? He said, you're still gonna have those phantom pains. So he's like, it's not gonna solve anything. And I was like, oh, well, I'd like it to, you know?
I know, right? Because I literally can see myself with a prosthetic and just jogging and living my life again. You know what I mean? And like, it's a morbid thing to ask, but I personally, the more this leg dies, the more I'm gonna want to get rid of it.
So what you're saying, Amina, is that you want to get a prosthetic leg not because of the pain when I cut off the pain, but you think mechanically it would work better to have it. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know the
Absolutely.
answer to that question though, because it's all, your symptoms are in your nerves, so it depends on where the nerves are being affected and if that would actually do anything. But I understand your frustration where you're like, can I just get a new one? It might probably work better at this point.
I see people, the Special Olympics, people run marathons with prosthetics, and I can't even run 5 feet right now.
The terrible part about your question is I don't know if there would be a way to determine that they could narrow down exactly what nerves does where you're located though. So if they remove your leg, would it help you or not help you? I don't think they could pinpoint it. But I don't know. But it would be cool if they could.
I know.
If you find out, let me know.
I don't know. I'm not sure that you'd still be able to run even with the prosthetic leg because you don't know how the upper part of the leg is going to work or not. So you may just drag it along with you. And I know because my right leg's that way too. It doesn't do anything. It's just along for the ride. And
that's right.
I've questioned it, but realistically, it might not do anything. I mean, you may put a prosthetic on and it just lays there.
Yeah. See,
Right.
mine's more of pain purposes. Like, can we just chop it? I don't need anything on there to replace it. I just need it gone, and he's just like, no. And I'm like, come on, Eric, please just chop it. And he's like, no.
No.
I'm like, fine. He's like, he goes, you gotta understand, when people lose a limb, they have those phantom, they'll still feel like their mind still gives that
Right.
sensation of pain or itching or whatever you did with that limb. And I'm like, fine, thank you for like crushing my hopes.
Exactly. That's how I felt when I was first kind of told that. She kind of was like, kind of like laughed, not laughed, but was kind of like snickered a little bit, you
Like
know?
back, yeah.
Yeah, like it's kind of like, is that ridiculous to ask somebody? Like, it's like a ball of neuropathy and fire from a lava in my leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I have muscle atrophy. So when I walk sometimes, the right leg, my foot drags sometimes. This leg is dead. And I just want to I want to say goodbye to yesterday and move and keep it moving, but
I think it
The great thing
actually
is,
shows how frustrated you are that you're at
yeah.
that point. I mean, I think that is an excellent depiction of your frustration right there.
well, I just want to, throw this out there. I got an AFO, and it's for, because you're saying your right foot drags, like sometimes it's just like it's foot drop. But I
Yeah.
got this AFO that just attaches to your shoe and it keeps your foot in its position. But you can still walk and bend a little bit, but it keeps it in its position,
Okay.
and you know, um, if I had it up here with me, I'd show you what it is. But it's basically like the most or the least what I felt when I was looking at AFOs, that it was the least invasive type of AFO that would be the most comfortable, because I don't know. I'm still like wrapping my head around that I need this stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to do research and see what I felt could be the best thing for me. Um, so
Amanda, an
Yeah.
AFO is an ankle foot orthotic. It's like a piece of plastic. Yeah, and some of them can be like fixed, or you can get them where they, like Christy was talking about, they bend at the heel. Is yours
no,
like
it doesn't go under my foot at all. It's all
okay?
external. It's all external on the shoe. So like I
Okay,
said, if I had it up here, I would show everybody. Um, what is it called?
you're welcome.
But hold on, let me see what it's called. But it's actually a really cool thing, and it's something that is just like people don't even realize that you have um like that to help, unless you're wearing shorts or high like not a long dress. Um,
Sit so that you don't drag your toe when you're walking.
yeah, it just basically holds up your foot. It's like a bar that goes from like your calf, because there's like a piece that wraps around your calf, and then at that calf there's a bar that goes down to like your toe area, your toe box area, that attaches to your shoe.
You
So
showed
it
it
just,
to us once, and it was really
yeah.
cool. I'll go get the one that I have that's inferior that I don't use, but it's the same thing. I'll just show it to you. But yours was really cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, AFO. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because
It's
I need that, because that foot drop is that catalyst of when I trip and fall.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
If that's
Yeah.
Oh, We all know very well.
Right.
Where's it at?
So it doesn't,
Oh yeah.
Christy, it sort of looks like the top is, or goes around your calf. I don't know why it's all crooked. And then it's hard for me to pull it out, but there's something that goes in the shoe. And this didn't really work for me because, for one, my shoe, it just, talk about advocacy. My shoe was meant to hold my foot, not my foot and this contraption. And they're just like, well, you just need to get, like, just every step, ironically, every step, there's always some stupid thing that, someone doesn't tell you about and you're struggling with, and it's like, doesn't make sense, and then this doctor said, oh, well, maybe you should get diabetic shoes. Like, we all know what that is. And then, oh, you should just buy 2 pairs of shoes, one a size bigger and one a size smaller. And then when the beginning of the pandemic, I was still walking with my walker. And I have a tennis shoe sort of like this, and someone had this size 9, I'm a size 8, and had it on the street, so I took it home, and that helped a lot. Like, I didn't have to buy 2 pairs of shoes. But the thing that you had, Christy, was so much better. Yeah, I don't know. I can't. Oh, here. It's like this, because this is it. And it hurts the foot. And talk about pain. I know I had it on and I was like, I was losing circulation in my foot. But the thing that you have, it looks like it attaches just to the top of the shoe and holds your foot up.
You muted yourself, Christy.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. It's like show and tell.
Yes. Thank you.
Like
so
your twins at school are having show and tell.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just stuff like AFO. I know they were talking about that to me. It's like, what's an AFO? An FU I get, but a FO.
Yeah.
Well, Amina. You just said you lost both your parents. It's still pretty raw. It's still pretty new. And MS, I was very impressed with my primary because she said early on, she said, well, Karen, you're having grief. Because I said, I'm not depressed. I like eating food. I like doing stuff, but I'm still overwhelmed and horrified and what a brace. You mean I can't wear skirts anymore? What? Put in handrails in my shower, but it makes my shower look ugly. These things, and I go, oh my God, I'm so happy to have the handrails in the shower and each thing that you do, but the grief and MS, it's a constant grief. It's a constant. And say now you're holding that personal grief of your parents and during the pandemic and that's just there. And now what? My body's not working. It's kind of like you're going to tap into that same difficult space. I mean, you don't have to, but it seems kind of natural that you would do that to give yourself a little break. That grief, it's real.
It is real. It is. And it was almost like to the minute, just a minute or two after I got the news, my right leg. It was so strange how it happened. I was all of a sudden, I couldn't walk down the stairs. I had to slide on my butt down the stairs just to get to my roommate because I literally lost that. The leg was like, oh, well, I'm going to take a break. You figure it out, and it's really amazing how we know the brain and the body are connected, but it's amazing how that happened like that. And yeah, so thank you for your comment because it's real. And
Amina, when my mom had partial knee replacement surgery in 2018, the little that I did for her, like grocery shopping and laundry and stuff, was enough to push me over that I had a flare and I went temporarily completely blind in my left eye. And that's all I did. I just helped her out. And I couldn't figure it out. I mean, I could not figure it out. I'm like, why am I having a flare. And it wasn't until one of the other people who has MS, like, I can tell you exactly what happened. I was completely blind to it until someone pointed, like, they told me, like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. But I was so blown over the fact that I didn't feel like I was doing a lot, but obviously I was doing too much. And I have a couple friends that don't come to this who have MS, and they still have this issue where they will continually push themselves and then they have all these issues. And I'm just like, girl, you can't do that. You gotta take it easy. And some of my friends don't understand that concept yet. They're still learning. But I was a real eye opener for me when I had a flare and I went completely blind in my left eye temporarily. I got my vision back, but my optic nerve is still short. Like they have the little stoplight, red yellow green of what you're, and my optic nerve is very not good. It's red on my left eye, so I do have damage from that. So when you said that, Amina, yes, absolutely affect you. So I always tell my people who have MS, be very, very careful with stress in anything because you are probably more sensitive to it than you think you are. I've learned that's the hard way. And
Yeah.
next month, just to preface, next month, April 12th is our next meeting. I will actually be in a hotel at Mayo because my mom will have her surgery on Thursday. So this is very apparent to my forefront because I will be in that situation again next month. So my sister is coming in town for a month and they're all aware of it. So they realize it, but that's just real obvious for me. So.
Okay. Well, good luck, and hopefully, oh, yes, the next meeting, as Kim said, is April 12th. And
3 weeks because we have that exceptional 5-week next week. So
yeah.
Wow.
Now I want a dress code for next time.
well, next week, April, it's before Easter. So I guess if you want to be festive for
Well,
Easter,
yeah, and you can wear your Easter bonnet. We could just totally, yes.
but MS Awareness Month will be over the next time we see each other.
Yeah, we'll be
But if
done.
you still want to wear your orange is always in.
Orange is always in.
I was gonna say because MS knows no month. We got this for the whole year, dude. So
I feel better in my total orange. I couldn't change while you were with me in my closet, but I'm like, yeah, orange better.
Yeah. And orange, yes, it's a nice break.
April 1st will be my 22-year anniversary.
April
When is
12th.
that, Holly?
April 1st. April Fool's Day. No joke.
First.
You got diagnosed with MS on April Fool's Day. You said it'll be 22 years this year?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
What an April Fool's joke.
Yeah,
I'm
no
telling
kidding.
wow.
My 10 years coming up in the fall, and I've joked that if everything's good with COVID, I'm having myself a 10-year diagnosis party.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I just have a quick question. I'm going to segue for just a moment. So I've got these new medications that they've put me on to help with my spasms and my spasticity. Well, unfortunately, I have really bad dry mouth, and I don't know how to fix that. You know, it's super uncomfortable to the fact that I have a hard time swallowing. So if anybody has any advice or has dealt with this, that would be super appreciated. I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I do. And I've
You know
got
what
to
the
think.
medication is?
It could be just the combination of the three of the tizanidine, baclofen, pregabalin. So it's probably those three.
Christy, I do have a suggestion for you, but I can't remember what it is. There is a product that they make. The reason I know about it is because there is a very new, it actually isn't even FDA approved yet, but there's a very new radionuclide treatment, and it affects cells that express a certain antigen, and some of those cells that are not being treated are in the esophagus. So we've had some guys who have this, and we've heard of a product that's recommended that helps you when you have real dry mouth. And so what I've got to do, again, I'll make a note on my to-do list. I'll see if I can track it down for you tomorrow, what it was they suggested. I think I know who to ask.
The only thing that I've had suggestions from like the doctor is to go get some Biotene.
That's what I was going to say. I've heard about that for dry mouth. But I was rudely eating Lifesaver at the beginning when we were here, and I had a plethora of spit in my mouth, so I don't know if that would help. Just like having like a hard candy, something.
Right. I've been like lozenges, because that, and gum and lozenges have become part of my everyday life, but it's still, I can't have it in my mouth 24/7. So when it's not there, it's very uncomfortable even to swallow, you know, because it's so dry back there. I can't, and I feel like my uvula is like sticking to the back of my throat when I swallow. That's how dry it is back there. It's horrible.
Sorry.
What was it that you suggested was suggested to you? I missed that.
Biotene. Yeah.
I got a feeling that's what they were talking about, Biotene. Is it a mouthwash?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I was thinking of, and it hasn't helped you, huh?
Well, I haven't tried it yet. I don't know if I want to become dependent on a mouthwash, because I don't know when I'm going to get off these prescriptions. You know, if I'm ever going to get off the prescriptions.
Well, but if it helps you and it makes your life easier, there are worse things you could become dependent on.
I know.
Wait a minute. Let's ask the pharmacist. Let's ask the pharmacist. What about Amanda? What do you say about Biotene?
So Chrissy, did you just start the tizanidine by chance, or was that just added?
I started it like we increased dosage. I started it like January and increased dosage every week until I got to 12 milligrams 3 times a day. So now I'm at the max on the tizanidine that is recommended to take daily. And it's just like, I don't know if it's just the tizanidine or if it's the combination of the tizanidine, pregabalin, and baclofen that's causing this. I don't know. And, you know, discussing with the doctor today, she's like, well, you know, we just did the Botox. So she's like, give it about 2 or 3 weeks and then start decreasing your tizanidine, see if that helps. She's like, because, you know, we don't know. She said, if we change the prescriptions that you're taking right now, it could affect the Botox, like the effectiveness of the Botox. I'm like, so I'm stuck with this.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, because that's probably helping relax the muscle in conjunction with the Botox. Okay, I just did like a quick Google search and looking at muscle relaxers and try to put it in simple terms. Tizanidine has that as a side effect, and if you're saying that you're maxed out on it, that's probably what it is that one of the mechanisms that it works is that it suppresses like what's called your muscarinic or your cholinergic like responses, so it tends to dry up your body. So that happened. I was put on amantadine for like energy before I went to modafinil, and I had that. I had to get off of it because I was chugging water and nothing helped. So that's probably what it is. I would say if that goes hand in hand with where you were tapering upwards and you just started seeing that side effect, that it's probably the dosage of that is just kind of overacting on that other pathway. Like you're getting your muscle relaxant, but it's like counteracting that. So trust your doctor with what they're saying of this, like give it a couple times, but maybe try the Biotene. But I would just ask them again, maybe could this be a side effect of one,
Well, and that's what I was telling her. It's like, I don't know which medication it is but it's been since we kind of ramped up my medication that I've been having this issue. And there's times like I'm eating and I can't swallow because I feel like everything is like sticking together in the back of my throat. And I'm like, I need to swallow this. I'm telling myself, you need to swallow this. So unfortunately, it's had side effects in the fact that I'm not eating like I should be. I'm drinking so much water. I mean, my husband, he buys me bottled water because our water is pretty bad here in Brighton. So we have the fridge water, the dispenser, or we have water bottles. So I'm going through, Costco pack of water bottles. I'm going through one of those probably weekly because I'm just chugging water and it doesn't seem to be helping. I was like, this takes me back to my high school years when I was smoking pot.
I would definitely recommend trying that Biotene stuff. And they have toothpaste, they have mouthwash, they have spray, and there's not going to be drug interactions with the Biotene with everything else you're taking. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to get another side effect from taking this. So try the variety of products to see if anything at least cuts it down somewhat.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, everything I've gotten since June of last year, I would never wish it on my worst enemy. I don't care how bad I hated you. I would never say, hey, let me hand this off to you because I don't like you anymore. You can handle this. I can't anymore. I would never wish it on anybody. So.
Well, now you know that drinking massive amounts of water does not help your dry mouth. So,
right.
Time for our next phase.
And then everybody's
well,
like,
certainly all that water certainly does not help your tendency towards incontinence in case you lean that way.
Yeah. Oh no, I've had this is another great thing. I went to the urologist and apparently my pelvic floor is fighting with me to release my bladder. So I'm like, great, awesome. So I'm just a hot ball of mess right now. It's not even funny.
Are you seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist, Christy?
Not yet. We are in the process of trying to find one that's relatively close because Steve takes me to all my appointments. So we have to find one that's close and, so we'll find one. It's just a matter of finding one. But yeah, well, I'm like, he thinks that I'm with my spasticity. He thinks that the spasticity has moved into like my pelvic wall. Like my pelvic wall is being affected by my spasticity as well. And I'm like, great, awesome.
Can I have more problems, please?
Yeah. Can I get a menu?
It's like a la carte MS, please.
Right.
Apparently, it's in that magazine that you just got in the mail.
And there's a lot of symptoms. That was one of the worst things when I was diagnosed. My doctor gave me a book and he said, don't read it. So, of course, I went home and I read the whole thing. And I didn't understand that just because there's like a ton of different symptoms you can get with multiple sclerosis, I thought you would get them all. And you may not necessarily, but so here I am, like just been diagnosed with MS, tears streaming down my face because I'm not going to be able to walk. I'm going to pee my pants. I'm going to lose, vision, and I'm going to have trouble speaking. And I'm like, oh
And
my
fly
God,
away.
this is the worst. It's everything. So
Yeah.
don't give a person newly diagnosed a book.
I know.
I have a really quick question, Frank, because I wrote down, but I spelled it differently. You said, "Hey, Karen, get in touch with Stuart Ferry," and I just looked. I had it on a notepad, and I just looked it up, and he lives probably less than a mile from my house. But what am I supposed to get in touch with him
Dude,
for?
You
MS
were
Society.
wondering if you could get the MS Society to help you with the stair lift. And I
No,
told
the
you,
elevator lift or whatever it's called. Oh, okay. All
and
right.
I said to get a hold of Stuart and see if he could help you because he does work with advocacy for California for the MS Society.
Yeah, I just looked him up, so thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
First, it was just giving me information about the ferry system from Oakland, but it's like, oh, he's a neighbor. Maybe I run into him at the market. I mean, he's like totally a neighbor.
Tell Stuart I sent you to him and he may not slap you and run away. I don't know. No, he won't.
Good people.
He is.
Yeah.
All right, that was just my one concern that I had a question on. Thank you, everybody.
Glad you brought it up, Christy. I think that's really important to talk about.
Yeah, it's miserable. I mean, and it's affecting my speech too. Like I feel like I have
Sounds pretty severe to me.
yeah, I feel like I have a cotton ball stuck in the back of my throat and I can't like get rid of it.
bye, man.
Bye.
Uh,
Well, us Michigan, or
us East Coast.
yeah, we're
Michiganders.
we're gonna have to.
Yeah, I got.
We're going to say goodnight, and we'll see everybody April 12th.
Right.
So
3 weeks.
thank you.
All right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you in
And
3 weeks.
Kim, you'll take care of turning
Turning out the lights. Last one out.
Stop
Off
the
the
recording.
lights. I'll turn off the lights.
It was a good meeting. Nice to see you all.
All right. Take
Yes.
care, everybody. Bye.
Good night, guys.